Good morning, friends. So I heard a long time ago, fear is lack of faith. I wonder how many people watching this right now understand that one. Fear is lack of faith. And to be sure, I guess there's truth in that, right? For those of us who understand or experience or have genuine faith, it's not a hard stretch to get to that place where we understand if I have faith, if I have belief, if I have confidence in my relationship with God and God's ability to direct me, then there should be no fear. I know that God will provide. I'm not afraid of going hungry. I know that God will direct my decisions and provide for me in such a way that I will make the correct decisions because I exist with God in my day-to-day journey. So my bills are going to get paid. He's going to provide, so I'm going to have that job. I'm going to have that income. Food's going to end up in my cupboard. Those basic necessities are going to be met. My faith removes those fears. So, if you don't necessarily get the faith idea, let's maybe expand on that. Let's expand on that. If you believe, if you have belief, that should remove your fear. You shouldn't struggle on a day-to-day basis with those unrelenting fears. That fear has been replaced by your belief that you're doing the right things, you're making the right decisions, you're on the right path. The point being, fear just decimates us, and we exist in this place where we're almost paralyzed. And that's what fear wants. That's what fear mongers want. That's what those people lording over us want. They want us paralyzed. Fear wants us decimated. Fear wants us ineffective. Removing that fear and going through life confident, full of belief, full of hope, full of faith, is the opposite of fear. So for me personally, I remember that lesson, and I hope I wasn't too babbly and all over the place with it. Take from it what you will, please. But I remember my own journey in that lesson and the epiphany that happened. I was actually reading today that exact spot in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's in the third edition that I have here. I have 2 copies of it. Page 151, A Vision for You. And it starts about a quarter of the way down the page, and it reads, "The old pleasures were gone. They were but memories. Never could we recapture the moments of the past. There is an insistent yearning to enjoy life as we once did, and a heartbreaking obsession that some new miracle of control would enable us to do it. There is always one more attempt and one more failure." To this day, that resonates so deeply with me. And it goes on, and toward the end of A Vision for You, well, not toward the end of that particular part of it, and it's often read at meetings, it describes to us that we will find release from that obsession, and we find it in a fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it resonated so deeply with me because in that fellowship, in those rooms, in those dusty church basements, in those community centers, I found that fellowship. I found people. And for somebody who had come from a family of 5 siblings and a larger family. My mother was one of 6 sisters. My dad had 3 sisters. I grew up in a pretty decent sized family. Christmases were always an event, and get-togethers were always pretty busy. Maybe it was my own upbringing, maybe it was the household specifically that I grew up in, but I didn't really enjoy fellowship or a family until I found first Sarah and then the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And amongst those people, I found hope, and that hope became faith for me. And that portion of the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, spelled it out for me in no uncertain terms. I wanted to share that with you because that is what we talk about here. It's what I'm trying to pass along, is that vision for you. And I hope whatever edition of the big book you have, or go get one, or get your hands on one, or get online and print something out. But I hope that when you're studying and you got your notebook in hand, I got all kinds of them, man. Inbox me. I'll lend you one. You're making notes and you're studying and you come upon a vision for you and you realize that that vision exists. The founders, all those years ago, were watching this happen daily. They were watching people come from nothing and growing into versions of themselves they had never imagined. I've watched it myself. I've seen in the rehabilitation centers that I eventually attended myself. Growing up, I saw my dad working with young men and women and families completely knit themselves back together. It's a vision, and it very much is a vision that's available to you, to everybody that struggles. And it's cemented with faith, with belief, with an understanding that we really have no room for fear. We really don't. Certainly there's logical fears that every human being should and does possess. I mean, those things that keep us alive, that keep us from jumping off a building because we understand the power of gravity, right? Not staying underwater too long because we understand that our lungs do require oxygen. Those basic things that keep us alive certainly are healthy. And there's always that very healthy fear that I could ever become that man that I was all of those years ago. And that keeps me away from the first drink of alcohol. But that noted, the day-to-day functionality of life that keeps us grinding forward, and the hope that we find there just has no room for those irrational fears that carried us to some of the darkest places. So I'm going to hit the stop button on that. Hope to goodness that this one is far more cohesive than what I put out yesterday. And I'm cheering you on, guys. I really am. And I want you to know that. I want you to know as we, float into the rest of this weekend that you are cared for, you are loved. And just for my little spot here in the basement, I care so much for every person that I've ever encountered in Alcoholics Anonymous and in recovery, and those people that I haven't encountered yet. And it's why I'm here. It's why I'm trying to get this out there to provide even a little seed for somebody, man. So like, comment, share, inbox, reach out. Let me know what I'm doing right. Let me know what I'm doing wrong. It works if we work it, friends. One day at a time. I'm cheering you on. Take care. Bye.